Hey, what's up, everybody? It's another episode of Let's Talk About It. We got a lot to discuss on this podcast today. A lot of the Bjerg's retiring stuff, a lot of off-season predictions already going. Obviously, results from group stage, even some predictions going for the Worlds. Today, I've got KoiPhish. Man, how are you today?
Doing good. I just got out of work, just going through some stuff and editing and et cetera, trying to make new content. That's it.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. Okay, so just a moment ago, off stream before I hit the record button, you were telling me about some spicy stuff that we're just going to launch straight into the off season, some of the off season rumors that have been going on. And you told me, for those of you who don't know, there is a post that Broken Blade made. It's basically a picture of him in a hotel room. The caption, the location was Dubai in the UAE. And the post was never take something for granted. Now, you were saying that Double If said something spicy on stream. I have not heard this, so care to enlighten us all.
So basically, Double Lift got asked about what happened at Worlds, and they, as everyone knows, 0-6 TSM, as what was said. Double Lift basically said that scrims weren't good in general because the players, because half the team wasn't wanting to take risks while they're scrimming, and then half the team was like just basically inting, like open mid or making risky plays and whatnot against during scrims, which then translated to how they played on stage, right? To me, and we can talk about the opinion later, but basically he was pointing out to the rookies on the team, basically speaking of Broken Blade about how they were playing really aggro and basically trying to make risky plays over like safe plays, like, and I guess that kind of once it got out, they were basically speculating that Broken Blade and Spica were probably going to be kicked out. Obviously, I don't think Spica will get kicked out of the team.
I think
his,
I think his performance as a rookie was, obviously, stand out. I think he's put in his time. I think he's made a case for himself. So like the thought that he would be kicked out seems to me a little bit strange, but that is a lot of flame.
Yeah, it was a lot of flame. Like, to me, in my opinion,
I am getting a phone call at the worst possible moment. Hold on.
Yeah. Okay. You're good.
That was Riot Jack with the hookup telling me that they got double lift again. No, I'm just kidding. So, anyways, I sorry for everyone who's listening to this on a podcast or like that. I got a random phone call because they have not fixed cellular things out here to the point where we don't receive random calls. So it sounds like he had quite a bit to say, and first take that that post by Broken Blade, it would kind of indicate to me that he's looking for the exit. Obviously he's not going to want to stay around if he's getting flamed by Double Lift and especially with Bjergsen being gone, which that's its own topic. But wow, so Double Lift actually just kind of laying on flame, which that's nothing new from Double Lift to kind of be flaming like that, but I don't know. I don't feel like his performance was particularly good enough to warrant being able to kind of throw shade like that, and especially not at Worlds. That to me seems a little strange.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat where, like, to be honest, like, Double F is one of the main reasons why they lost. Like, the way I saw it, right, was the top side of the map was basically, hey, let's go for these aggressive plays. We have nothing to lose. While these vets like Bjergsen, Double F, and Biofrost, they're like, well, we're not going to do that because if we fuck up, we mess up. Like that's our fault. Everyone flames us.
Yeah.
Well, I think at the end of the day, you got to leave it off like as if like who cares, like just make risky plays. I think that's one of the main reasons why NA isn't good at Worlds ever, because it's like they'd rather play really safe and farm until late game and hope they make it over there rather than just take some risky plays. That's why top esports, Damwon, G2, Fnatic, that's why they make it out of groups every single time. Yeah. It's because they'd rather make those risky plays than to play safe, you know?
So we're talking about performance here, so I guess that can kind of lead us on to our next topic a little bit. I think we'll circle around back to kind of the Bjerg's retiring thing here in a little bit.
Yeah.
But one of the things I want to discuss with you, so we made some predictions about how the group stages were going to go, and then kind of how we thought maybe the quarterfinals were going to go. Obviously, a lot of things got thrown out there, and it went very, very differently. A lot of people's pick'ems got trashed once Suning kind of won it. I'm just going to summarize my thoughts about it, and that is that if Suning win this final, I am going to stop watching Worlds because Riot will have scripted it for the second year in a row. Like, okay. Like Fun plus Phoenix, all right, you get the one. Like Riot, you get the one. But the second time around, when your song is literally calling the World's Finals winner, come on, no, you don't get two.
I get that. Like, to be honest, like I think when I was talking to my friends who got me into Worlds, to like League of Legends and stuff in the first place, right? Mm-hmm. Like we were talking about the past Worlds, right? Like. We were just talking about how like great like the past Worlds have been, and then the last like 3 have been kind of boring. Yeah. Right. So like to me, I think I would stop watching Worlds if it's a 3-0 or until they fix the bracket system. If they add like a losers bracket or something. Yeah. You know, I'm definitely tired of seeing like a 3-0 as well. Don't get me wrong. I think Fun plus Phoenix, like I love Doving's story, and I absolutely love that World. I think it's my second second favorite Worlds, right? Yeah. But it was so boring to watch a 3-0. You know,
so that actually kind of raises one of the questions about the bracket. So one of the things I think that Dota does too is I think that if they manage to win the first series, I think that resets the bracket, right? And then they play another series. So how would you feel about that in the context of League where it could potentially be 10 games?
I would rather see it that way. And I think to me, it makes it better, right? Because in that way, like teams like, for example, if JD Gaming lost to Sunning in the first one, right? They could completely make it back so that way they could face Sunning again, or, you know, or Top Esports tries to go back at it again, right? Rather than it just being like, oh, you're one and done. Like what? Like, granted, best of series of 5 is really long, right? And it takes a lot, right? But to me, it's a lot better, in my opinion, if you have it out like this. You know, like TI has been doing it since like I think the first TI.
I think it's just the first TI. Yeah. There haven't been very many instances where it's happened, but I think, and I agree with you. I think that by doing that, I think you end up with a much more grand event. I think that instead of having, you know, a lot of situations where you face a 3-0 or like even if it goes 5 games, you know, that doesn't feel like, you know, you're tuning in to watch an event that's as big, you know, as something like the TI, because they feel like TI, like you're getting the bang for your buck because you're sitting and watching this massive event. Whereas with Worlds, it's like, you know, you get a couple of games and that's really it. And it's, you know, you've really woken up to not to see a whole lot.
Yeah, because and also I just want to like this is just one thing like that's also out there. Sorry, this is also one thing that's out there. It's not the only like TI is not the only one who does double elimination. Fighting games do double elimination, as well as like currently Valorant. Some Valorant tournaments do double elimination, and it has worked out for the better because you see teams after they lose the first one, right? They go back and try to win the second one. They completely switch up their strats. You know, it's to me. I feel like if like Sunning and Damwon win, or whoever wins, right? And there was a loser bracket, right? Let's say Damwon hasn't lost one, Sunning hasn't lost one either, right? So regardless of whatever happens, there's still going to be a bracket reset. Yeah. Right. So if Sunning loses, they could come back, do another best set of 5, obviously with Damwon having a one game advantage, right? And then Sunning completely changes everything up. Yeah. You know, like that to me is a lot better than watching another 3-0. Or another like this is what's happening. And also, come on, like right, like the longer your event is, like the more money you make.
Yeah.
Like, let's be real. Like I think TI is a lot longer than Worlds is. I think
for the most part, yes. Now there's some exceptions, like last year's TI wasn't particularly long, just because of of how relatively speaking, how quickly OG won the series against Team Liquid.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I mean, it was. I mean, Team TL picked up the one game at the beginning, but I mean, I'm sure everyone's seen TI Insight. It's the behind the scenes stuff behind for that event. It was spectacular. I do wonder though, because a lot of people, obviously the natural argument to having 2 best of 5s is that, well, I don't want to sit around watching League for 10 hours. I've got other things to do. Which is a fair argument. You want an event, you want to get the bang for your buck, but you also don't want to be sitting around all day watching an event. You want it to be over in a reasonable time. So what would you say to people that said, okay, well, for the finals event, the finals should be a best of 7? That way you have a happy medium. That way there's more chances to play more games to get a comeback. But while not still, being a one and done sort of event. That way, at least it feels like, okay, there was a chance to come back. And that way, if a team does win all 4 games, it's like, okay, there was really never a chance the other team was going to win. They won all 4 games. That's really the end of it.
So here's the thing, like the reason I don't like best of 7s in esports, like I think in sports like basketball, right, and like tennis or whatever, right? Like I think that's okay because that can be basically done within a certain time period.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine that the players having to play like 7 games. That's like 8 hours still, right? In my opinion, regardless of whether you don't want to watch it or not, you're gonna end up watching it regardless.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like if I were to come in today, like let's say the game is at 3, right? The finals is at 3 a.m., right? They ends up becoming a clean sweep, right? Ends at like 7 a.m., right?
Yeah.
Then, but obviously there's a bracket reset, and then I go watch, and then the Sunny comes back out with a 3-2 win. Like I think at the end of the day, you're still gonna end up watching it.
So would you propose that all the games are played on one day, or would you have it split up into 2 days? One, like a Saturday. So for instance, finals day, Saturday would be 1 best of 5, and then depending on whether or not one team wins, and if the second place team wins, then they go to one more day of best of 5s. Is that what you're kind of proposing there?
Yeah, I think if for finals, like to be honest, I kind of wish that the finals was not on a Friday morning, right?
Well, finals is on
basically
Saturday.
Is this Saturday? I thought
Saturday.
It was.
It's on the 31st.
Yeah, 31st is 31st not on the.
Nope, it's on Saturday.
I thought. Oh,
because it goes to because it's today's the 28th, which is Wednesday, 29-30. So Thursday, Friday.
Oh, okay. Actually, never mind. Yeah. For some reason, I thought it was on Friday because last year
it's always on was it really? I felt like it was on a Saturday.
Yeah, it felt like on a Friday because
it was on Saturday.
I don't know. I remember having to sleep early because I had work in the morning and I don't work weekends.
I remember finals being on a Saturday because that was the one day that was one of the first days and weeks that I didn't have watch. So I was actually able to like stay up and watch Worlds that day.
Oh, okay, okay. Then that's interesting. Oh, well, okay. Well, but
regardless.
Regardless, like I think like I feel like games in general, like I feel like it would be better if it just started on Friday and then ends on Sunday, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think over there you still have an extra 2 days before the finals, right? So they have like an entire week of practice, right? But I think the reason why 3-0s keep happening is because at this point all the teams have left and the only teams that they can scrim are in the country teams. Mm-hmm. Right, so it's either you scrim the finals team, or you scrim well, obviously they're not going to scrim the finals team. It's either they scrim the finals team or they scrim whoever's left, and usually the ones who are left over aren't didn't make it to Worlds for a reason. Yep. You know what I mean? So it's just it's just one of those things. That's why I think, in my opinion, there's probably going to be a 3-0 tomorrow or on Saturday. Yeah, that's just me.
I'm praying that there's not a 3-0. So speaking of the supposed 3-0, which I hope doesn't happen, I hope we get 5 fantastic games. What are your predictions for the finals? What do you think is going to happen on Saturday?
Man, this is a tough one because I love Dongfeng's story, Right. This guy grew up being poor and basically living off by himself.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, like becoming a world champion or world finalist, right? Like working really hard. I'm really into those kind of stories where the players work really, really hard, right? But for me, I'm a Korean, like I'm an LCK fan. So it's like
So
I want
you want
I
down
want
one.
yeah, I want Damwon to like bring Korea back on top of the map.
So
That's
how
just me.
so how surprised were you when Suning beat out Top Esports?
Oh, I was super surprised. I was at work. I was watching the game while I was at work,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden I'm like, huh, it's like Sunny could actually win this. And then the second game, okay, yeah, I think Sunny
Okay.
might actually win this. And then
Panic.
Top Esports, yeah, Top Esports looks like they were about to make a comeback and win it, and then all of a sudden they threw it away, and Sunny just completely clapped them. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, well that's cool.
Now let's change the narrative a little bit. Were you and generally speaking, you were surprised that Top Esports beat Suning, but let's put it in this light. Were you surprised that Top Esports lost in light of the previous match they had played when it went 3-2?
Oh, you're talking about Fnatic.
Yeah,
Oh.
were you surprised that Suning beat him in light of that, seeing as Fnatic took him to 5 games, or does it really still not change the fact that you're surprised that Suning still won?
So, like, the way I saw the Fnatic versus Top Esports is, and this is what I really like about EU. Um, EU teams tend to have like underestimating powers against like other teams, especially international,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like we're talking about like teams like Splice and Vitality who came up like out of random, right? Almost beating like top Korean and Chinese teams,
Yep.
right? And Fnatic was just no different that day. To me, I thought Jackie Love and what's his name? Uh, it doesn't matter. Jackie Love and his feeding. I know his support was feeding the entire time. That's all. That's all
Yeah.
I remember. But Jackie Love like should have won that lane. But Fnatic, like Reckless and Hellsing just showed up. Like it was out of nowhere. Like they were completely carrying that team. Um, I was watching I was also watching like some kind of like Dobing's thoughts and other teams. Like, I was watching I Will Dominate and watching them what like their YouTube videos on why Fnatic was winning so much is that bot lane was like completely like the biggest thing. But like the main reason like Fnatic should have won. That last game, Nemesis kind of threw. Now I'm not saying it's all Nemesis' fault at all, right? Um, but he's kind of has part of the blame of why they lost. But Buipa also didn't do that well either.
Yeah.
Selfmade was actually like probably the biggest carry on that team, though. Yeah.
Yeah. So were you surprised then in the course of that series that Fnatic managed to lose that, or do you kind of feel that Suning or that Top Esports had kind of correctly pulled that out, or do you feel it was mostly kind of a throw on the side of Fnatic?
I think it was surprising that Fnatic got 2 games at all.
Okay.
But I'm not surprised that Top Esports still ended up winning. You know,
Okay.
it's just to me, it's like it's just kind of like yeah, yes, Fnatic like it's not that it's not that Top Esports shitted the bed those first 2 games. It's that they were getting shit on by Fnatic, right? But it just took like individual like solo carrying an individual like basically like a top mid difference,
Mm-hmm.
right? That ended up like winning them the next 3 games.
Gotcha.
Yeah, which is
Um.
why I'm not that surprised.
Yeah. I don't think I was particularly surprised. I think like you, I was kind of more surprised to see that Fnatic was going to up 2 games over Top Esports. I definitely think
Yeah.
that, and also in contrast to that Top did a lot to kind of pull that series out and go, kind of reverse sweep, which was the first ever in world's history.
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
I think across the board, I think for the other matches, I'm not really surprised. Strategically thinking, I didn't really have G2 kind of making it out of really the quarterfinals the way they did. I didn't really think that they would beat Genji, but I mean, I guess I'm not particularly surprised that they did. I am Also, not surprised that they lost to Damwon. I think that was largely expected. I think Damwon has just been way too dominant over their season. I think that in the course of Worlds, I think they've definitely showed that they're there really to kind of cement their own legacy, and they're not really there to play around. You know, they're there for a win. And they talked extensively about getting revenge against G2, which I think was a huge motivating factor, because I think for pride's sake alone, they weren't willing to kind of lose that series against G2 simply because you know, they don't really lose the same team twice, and especially not in the way that they lost last year.
Yeah.
I think largely across the board, I think the majority of it did go, I think, the way I expected it to. There wasn't really anything that was too surprising. I think just top esports getting knocked out by Suning is obviously, you know, kind of mind-boggling in the sense that I think everybody and their mother logically had top esports getting out. There was really no reason to think that they wouldn't. And I think that was kind of the finals that everyone was expecting, was top esports Damwon, depending on how the brackets went. And I think some people maybe kind of feel robbed about that. But, you know, where fairness is due, I think Suning also making it to finals is going to be interesting. And I don't think it's going to be a 3-0. I think those teams are so competitive with each other that it's going to be 5 games. I just don't, because it's not like a situation where you have an obvious losing team. It's like when Fnatic played against Invictus Gaming, I never really felt like Fnatic was going to win it. I just didn't. I felt like Invictus was just by far the stronger team. I felt that they were just incredibly well balanced. I felt that they had winning strategies everywhere. And then, you know, vice versa. Then, you know, the next year with G2, I never felt like G2 was ever going to beat FunPlus Phoenix. I just didn't see it.
Well, to me, I actually had the opposite.
Really?
Yeah, like I expected G2 to win last year. The reason why I expected G2 to win last year was because everyone was just talking about how bad, how bad like Fun Plus Phoenix is, or like obviously they were the number one LPL team, right? Like, yes, they were a tournament favorite, but they always talk about how there's like a big mid difference, right? And to me, it's like, yeah, like, okay, I didn't really follow the entire story of Dombing until later on, right after he won Worlds, right? But like, before that, I was just listening to an analysis, like LS and like Jad and all of them were saying about how bad like how bad he is in lane, right? So in my head, I was like, okay, Caps is gonna clap him, right? Like that was it. You know, like that's what I'm expecting, right? But it ended up being the opposite. And yeah, I mean those pocket picks are like crazy, like Nautilus mid and whatnot, right? I was like, that's like, I think to me that's like probably like that's a different way of playing. It's not Faker's playing,
part of
but
that was I feel like part of it was the shock and awe of like Caps preparing for like literally any logical pick mid lane. Is like, wait, it's a Nautilus, what? And he's getting into lane like, I don't know what to do here. And then Nautilus is looking him every 5 seconds, and he's just perma-dead, like nothing but gray screen.
Yeah, basically. I was just like, I was surprised. You know, that was it. Like, there's not like a single thing in me that thought like, hey, like they're gonna lose this. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. But
all right, so I'm gonna play a game with you, and this one's called. I'm gonna steal this one from this or that from kind of the Kobe and Jat segment, but I'm gonna rename it. This was a little bit of a different theory, and we're not gonna have a whole many of these. It's really just gonna be one topic, and I'll give you a minute to kind of explain your position on it. So it's gonna be called maybe or what if. So maybe. So this is the maybe take. Maybe the LPL gets the 3rd win at Worlds in a row. So that'll be the 3rd time. If Suning win, it'll be the 3rd time that China has managed to win the World Finals, and it will add yet another team to the LPL legacies. You know, you had Invictus, then you had FunPlus Phoenix, and then it would be Suning. But what if Damwon retakes the throne for Korea? What if Damwon re-cements the Korean legacy? So I'm interested to see your take, which one you're going with, and then I'm kind of interested to hear your explanation as to why.
I think Damwon retakes Korean.
Okay,
that's biased, though. You know,
okay, so how does Korea retake the throne? How does Damwon get their win over Suning?
I think if they do what they did to G2, just clean, straight outplay, like basically the way Damwon's playing to me is like the way that Korean players have been playing League for like the longest time, right? I think what China has versus what LCK has, what like the LPL versus LCK thing. In my opinion, the way I see it is LPL are mechanically better,
Mm-hmm.
right? But LCK have some pretty like high mechanical players as well, right? But the difference is that they know how to work together as a team, you know?
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
you're thinking it's teamwork that gets it done for Damwon, as opposed to just being able to mechanically outplay everything on the side of Suning.
Yep.
Interesting. I'm more of the I think I'm all on the same lines. I think that Korea retakes the throne. I would be interested to see the LPL cementing their legacy as, once, I kind of feel like in order to undo what the, Koreans have done, I think you kind of have to sort of match in some way or form what SKT did. Now, keep in mind, I don't think any team's really ever going to be able to get 3 wins at Worlds again like that, but I do feel like I feel like that region winning Worlds 3 years in a row will kind of cement really the strength of that particular region, and then show that, hey, we really are the best in the world right now, not just with our team, but with the players that we have circulating through our league. But I am more interested in the Koreans retake the throne sort of storyline, seeing as, there's no usurpers in, either Europe or North America or any other region. I would be interested to see Damwon kind of take it. So which leads us into prediction times. I think it goes 3-2 Damwon, but I think that the first 4 games are really, really close. And if I had to describe how I think the first 4 games are going to go, I would have to say coin flip. And then the 5th game is just an absolute smash by Damwon. I think they trade 1-for-1 back and forth, and then Damwon just takes it home in the 5th game. I definitely don't see any kind of silver scrape scenario. I definitely don't see any kind of 2-1s or anything like that, or 2-0s, 3-0s, anything like that. I think it's going to be a competitive series.
Yeah, I can agree to a certain extent. I don't like 3-0s, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I also don't like 3. I also don't like 3-2s either, because it just means like you don't know who you really want to pick to win,
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's like 3-0 on 3-0 for Damwon for me. I do like, obviously my heart. I hope Youngfeng wins Worlds, but I can't see it. Like I just can't.
Just can't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so some of the other things that I think we were talking about when we got on the show was obviously some of the offseason rumors that have started to circulate. Obviously, some teams are making some moves, some stuff that hasn't been confirmed by people like Travis and some other people on Twitter. Like the esports reporters, like the esports guy. One of the things I did want to talk about was the confirmation that Jensen has re-signed a 3-year deal with Team Liquid that is rumored to be worth about 4.2 million. So I'm interested to see kind of the first thing I want to discuss is kind of your take on good or bad for Team Liquid. Is this bad? Okay, so why is this why is them giving Jensen a couple $1 million not a good financial move for TL?
So to me, I think like I just don't like the way that we pay our players so much, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we haven't shown anything internationally for it, you know. Like for example, like I know Hooney's one of the best top laners, or was one of the best top laners in the world, but he gets paid like almost like half, like, or more than half a mil, like I think he gets paid like 5 million, 6 million. I don't remember what the cost is.
Yeah.
He gets paid 6 million to just never make it to Worlds again. I think that's crazy to me. I also think that like when you put like I feel like at some point they're gonna put a salary cap here, right?
Yeah.
And it's gonna end up ruining it. I think maybe it might be a good thing. So that way you just don't try to get like stack players, like have a double F.Bjerg's in the same team, and that way the superstars are all kind of spread out, and then you have a bunch of young like players, like that might end up being a good thing. But to me, I think you're paying these players way too much for something that they can't even win an international game.
Yeah.
You know,
I think I agree to a certain extent too, and I also think that kind of helps with the homogenization of talent being focused on 1 or 2 teams. I think with every team having a salary cap, they're really going to have to pick. how they choose to do that. I think that's something that they should not just implement, necessarily in the LCS, but they should implement league wide. Now, I think it's more of a problem in North America than it is really anywhere else. But I think that by doing that, that they sort of kind of fix their problems. I definitely think though that on the opposite side of that though, that there should be a minimum amount set to what they should be able to pay players. Which not to say that they should everyone should just get paid the same in terms of being able to play league. Like I definitely don't feel that should be the case. I think that there needs to be a balance of that there needs to be a bare minimum that you pay players, but that there needs to be a hard cap. Like I don't really know what the hard cap of that would be, but I would say your total team salary cannot be any more than let's say 8 million. Like let's say you can spend a total of 8 million on players, just on operation costs for players, not including any other stuff. Just your player salaries alone cannot equal more than $8,000 or $8 million.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it'd be a little bit less than 8 million. I feel like 5 million is probably the best. I honestly, if I had it my way, probably $1 million. These players do not need to get paid $1 million. I don't think I know Double If makes way more than 6 figures. But he's getting paid as if he's the best player in NA still. I think if you asked me 5 years ago, yeah, I think he's the best player in NA. But right now, he's not even close, and he's still getting paid like that.
Yeah. I definitely feel on the side of performance, bang for buck in terms of what teams are paying for. I don't think that if you look at what they're paying a lot of players, especially some of the higher end players, you look at players like Huni, Double Lift, you look at players, maybe and really, there's actually only a couple teams that are kind of guilty of that because the other teams don't really have the same cash to kind of throw around. So, you might say, well, look at FlyQuest with players like Power of Evil and stuff like that. But I mean, you're not paying them the same. Those teams aren't paying them the same because they don't have the same kind of, I would say, capital that other teams do, especially like Team Liquid, in order to pay them. So I think it's less of an issue there. I think the closest analogy you can make for League of Legends as to compared to any other sport would probably be Formula One, where there's really not a limit on what the higher end guys can do. Like, if Formula One being a sport where if you have the money, you can wield it like a weapon. And, teams like TSM and Team Liquid wield their money like a weapon to attract better players and in order to cement, winning rosters and stuff like that, which is all fine and good if they have the money to do it and their sponsors are fine with it and their investors don't have a problem and that's what they want to do. I think that's fair. But I think there's a problem of it, that's a problem of attracting good talent to other teams. And I think it makes the league very, very top heavy in terms of only one or two teams being good. And I don't think it promotes competitiveness at all. I think if you have all the best people playing on the same teams, I think it ruins the spirit of competition. And I think it's time that the league kind of looks at their rules and the way that they address that. And I'm not saying that that players should be forced to make less than what they're worth. It's very hard to look at a player and say, okay, well, this is your value. But I think it's also not that hard to say, okay, well, North America as a region has never really produced. So why are you the player coming to me at the negotiation table asking for $1 million? You're not worth it. You haven't made it to MSI. Most of these players have never made it to an LCS finals, let alone Worlds, let alone accomplished anything serious at Worlds. And I think, tragically, looking at a team like TSM that probably pays their players a little bit more than maybe they're worth, they went 0-6.
Yeah.
Why are you paying them that much to go 0-6? I mean, at least for TL, at least they can say, well, we went 3-3, in the group stage. At least we, made some headway and we made it a decent showing. Which, I mean, on terms of Team Liquid statuses, I know that's not good enough for them. I know that they had higher expectations to make it out. But I mean, where's the argument for what you pay them?
Yeah, because my biggest problem with is just the infrastructure within. I know these orgs only care about money, right? Deeply, I know 100% they only care about money. They don't care about whether you whether you make it to Worlds or not, or how good or bad you are, right? They only care about making money at the end of the day. It's all about numbers to them. Yeah. But half the teams, every team has one import that's a superstar. Evil Genius has Bang, and Bang and Huni actually, and they'll probably pay them a lot. Yep. I know 100 Thieves has Sunday, Counter Logic Gaming. I think they're the only ones that don't have any. I think Paul Belcher is probably the best player on that team, and he probably thinks he gets paid like $1 million or something. Yeah, I know Immortals just signed. I think it was before they just signed SOAS which I think it was like 2 million or something.
Yeah,
I don't remember, but yeah, like every team basically, like every team has some kind of like former superstar or was superstar, and they still keep them.
yeah.
You know, yeah, and I feel like teams like Golden Guardians and FlyQuest, who are like one of the top 2 teams who don't really have a superstar, right? Like I think Power Evil is a superstar. Don't get me wrong, but he's also like he's also like like
Maybe not quite worth the money that he would be
yeah,
paid.
like yeah, he probably gets paid like less than half a mil. Probably doesn't even make a triple digit. Maybe he makes a triple digits, but like not like 500, like not half a mil.
Mhm.
You know, but at the end of the day, like these are the teams that are like doing good, right, compared to the rest of the league.
Yep.
Like I noticed a huge stacks between like Immortals, Immortals being like 4-14, and having like probably like Smithy and Apollo's still playing. Wow, that's crazy to me.
Again, people always seem mystified whenever they see Apollo still playing.
Yeah, Apollo's still playing. Dude, I thought that guy left as soon as like
people forget he exists. It's hilarious. It's like, wait, it's like, oh, Apollo gets a double kill. Apollo, wait a minute, he's still playing.
What team was he? He was on that team with Rush, right? Like, what was that team?
Oh, I don't even remember.
Holy moly, that team with Rush. That was a really good team too. That team made a better appearance at Worlds than TSM did. Holy shit.
Oh no. Oh no.
Holy moly.
Okay, so some other stuff to talk about for off-season moves. So obviously there's the Alfari rumor about that he may or may not be moving to TL. I don't really know how much credence I give that. I don't really know if that's a smart move for him. Obviously, if TL wants him, they can, short of him just saying no, they can probably get him. It's certainly not a money issue for them. I'm just curious to what you think about how likely it is he actually goes to TL.
I don't know why he would,
Interesting.
Was he good? Like, didn't Origin go like
it depends on who you ask. I think
did they go 6-12?
I think given the circumstances which he played in, I think he was okay. I think that obviously you could have asked more for him. I think given the right tools he can produce, I think he's also as a solo player, I think he's fine. I just don't know if it's the smarter move to move, from a player like Impact to go to Alfari. I just don't. I don't know if that's the move. And it depends on whether or not he wants to move.
I feel like I mean, it could happen, right? But like also Impact, probably now that I'm thinking about it, probably the biggest thing that the reason why they're probably not picking up Impact anymore is because they want to pay Jensen more than Impact. Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing. And I think it's kind of hard to say because like the meta shifts all the time in League, right?
Yep.
You're going to have one season where tanks are the best and Impact's going to be a monster throughout that entire year.
And that's the split you're going to wish you had him.
And then like I know this Worlds has been like basically top carry basically, right? And like maybe an Orin player here and there, right? But for the most part, it's mostly been top lane the game, right? Especially near the end. So to me, it's like maybe I feel like they should just pick up Licorice. I feel like Licorice would be a better player than Alfari.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me.
So you think that, but you think overall, just it would or wouldn't be a smart move for Alfari to move?
It would. I don't think it would be a smart move for TL, and it's not going to be a smart move for Alfari. I think EU is still the more dominant region, right? Like, why would you go down to a lesser region unless you really want money, right? Like, there's no way like a Bang, a superstar 80 carry from Korea, goes to NA unless he was thinking like, you know what would look good if I could buy my mom a house. Like that's basically what I was thinking.
Yeah. All right, so some other, just to kind of recap some of the other rumors. Some of these are going to be a little bit older, but some of these are kind of newer. So on the 22nd of this month, which people may or may not know, Dignitas kind of confirmed that they were staying with Dardoch. This seems, despite Lena's best attempts, people will still be playing with Dardoch, which is kind of funny. So your thoughts on that?
Dardoch to me shouldn't. I mean, it depends. It depends who you ask. in my opinion, Dardoch it's not like that he's a bad player. It's just that he's toxic. And I know what a lot of people think and say, like, oh, like I know what he tries to say is like it's just because he's passionate, right? I think there's a different way you can be passionate about without flaming your entire team for
Gotcha.
being bad.
Yeah.
You know, like I think that's how it should be. Because like me as a player, like don't get me wrong, like I'm a flamer too, right? I'm gonna flame my teammates too, especially if they're playing bad. But I'm gonna make sure that like, hey, this is what needs to be fixed. You know, if you want to stop being bad, this is what you need to fix. But from what I see from Dardox, from all the Team Liquid and the TSM videos, right, is that Dardock's always like, well, I don't respect you. I don't care what you say. You don't even play this game anymore. You don't even play this game. Why should I listen to you? Blah, blah, this or that. You know,
Yeah.
like it's never I'm right. It's never I'm wrong. And maybe I should like look and reflect, right? It's always I'm always right and you're wrong. You know?
For my
Yeah.
part, I don't think I would expect to see anything different from Dardoch. You know, I don't hold anything against him personally. I've never met him. I don't know him personally. But the problem is I've seen performances on teams. I've obviously like the recurring theme is that teams keep saying that he's an issue both inside and outside the game. And you know, when team after team keeps saying that, and it's a repeat pattern of you being a problem, I don't expect to really see anything different, despite being given another chance. I could be wrong.
Yep.
You know, just the same way anybody can be wrong about anything. But I just don't see it. I think it's going to be much of the same. And you know, if you do what you've always done, then you're going to get what you've always got. And you know, if people keep giving Dardoch a chance, they're going to keep getting what other teams get it with him, which is just an insane amount of toxicity and not really a whole lot of production out of a jungler that could be good, but he's not. And that's really kind of my 2 cents on the matter. I really just don't have a lot to say. I'm tired of Dardoch getting chances over other junglers that, you know, would love to have his spot. That's just how I feel about it.
Yeah, like I feel like it's like if you give Dardoch a chance, why isn't Tarzan in the game?
Oh, exactly. I mean,
there's no difference. The only difference is that Dardoch started doing it after after he went pro. You know, like that to me is just crazy.
All right, so some other rumors. Obviously, this one's a little bit old. So Reaper obviously leaving Cloud9. That one's a little interesting. Kind of some memeing rumors that Cloud9 or not that a TL might just snatch Reaper just so another team won't get him, which I thought was maybe a little bit interesting. I think that Reaper does have places to go, seeing as Dignitas just announced the release of their head coach think card. So obviously, if Reaper wanted to go to a place like Dignitas, he could, or Team Liquid could just throw a fat check his way and say, "Hey, we would pay you just not to participate," so that way you don't have, so that way you're not playing against us.
I mean, it could be that he could go to Korea or something.
Where does he go? Where does he go in Korea, though?
I know Yamato just splitted with Yamato Cannon just split with that LCK team.
Yeah.
I mean that's always a possibility. I don't know if it's going to be true or not. You know, like of course, right? But you know, it could happen. I don't know. I know he's open to everywhere. Maybe somewhere in the LPL he might have room, or maybe even EU. But I doubt he'll go to EU because
I feel the opposite. I feel like he has 2 options. Either he joins the casting crew for the LEC, which would be fantastic. I think that'd be really cool. But I also think that his wealth of knowledge in the game is so expansive, and that he knows so much about how to get the most out of players that he could very easily go back to coaching a team in EU. I don't really know what team he takes over, but I for sure see him going back to the LEC and taking over a team. I mean, you know, and whatever roster he gets, like I think one of the tragic things is that when he was working with was it Splice? No, it wasn't Splice. It was was it? I can't remember if it was Splice or if it was
Wait, Reaper or
no Yamato Cannon.
Yamato, yeah, I think it's Vitality.
Vitality. When he and Vitality made that Worlds at runs that they did in 2018, when they made that run that they did in 2018, I was very impressed. I was very impressed at what he was able to get out of the lineup he had, and I think to give him more time and some better players.
Yeah. It was Team Vitality, and he was with Splice, but that was like in 2017.
That was in 2017.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would like to see him go back. I would like to see him in the LEC and coaching again. I definitely think it'd be. Don't get me wrong. I think he would be a great on-air talent for the LEC broadcasting crew, but I also think that there's more conversely, there's more talent wasted by him not coaching. I think that there needs to be a team. I mean, hell, I'd like to see him come to North America and see what happens there. I mean, there are some teams, if you put them on a team like Dignitas or, Immortals or something like that, a really thirsty roster that wants to make some headway, and give them, give them a chance to make an impact on a season or something like that, and give him a roster that he can build up and work with long term. I think North America, there's plenty of chances to do that. So
yeah, I mean, it's not like they were like, to me, it's like Yamano, I think, is like probably one of the smartest players ever. I mean, he's like the first Western coach to ever win a game in LCK. So like, it's not like he's a bad coach. I think there's just a certain like level of. I think there's just a certain thing that he can't do beyond like players. Right? I think it's going to take a group of special people. I think if he were like to take over someone, like, personally for me, if you ask me, I think he should take over T1, because holy, like, you remember what I said that first podcast? Like, I absolutely hate whoever coaches T1 right now.
Let's not get out of hand. Let's keep it reasonable. Let's keep it reasonable.
True, but like, yeah, like, like, yeah, like, I think he could.
That'd be hilarious.
I think he could end up in LCK though. I remember Dom asking him if he were to coach TSM, would it fix all the problems? He said he could probably fix it. Like that, and he said it with such confidence that, like, yeah, I believe.
I could fix it, but I got better things to do with my time.
Yeah.
So obviously the big elephant in the room, the one we've kind of saved best for last in terms of this discussion. And I think the big one, and Travis and them kind of did this on their own podcast, and they were kind of doing the Bjerg's eulogy, as they were discussing whether or not you give a eulogy on somebody's dead or they retire. But regardless, for those of you who obviously don't know, and if you don't know, get your head out from whatever hole you've got it in the ground, because this is actually big. So if you don't know, Bjerg's has retired, and as a player, and has moved on to being a coaching staff for TSM, which I think is going to be hilarious if Doublelift doesn't retire, because if Doublelift doesn't retire, it's going to be Coach Bjerg's pointing out all the things that player Doublelift is doing wrong, which I think would be hilarious. But Koi, I'm going to let you kind of go ahead and start. Just kind of give kind of your thoughts and opinions on Bjerg's, as his career as a player, your feelings about his retirement, and just anything else that you kind of want to talk about.
As a player, I think he's the best Western player to ever play the game. I would consider him the GOAT. Obviously, up until like Caps retires, and yeah, no, actually, when I think Western, I think Bjerg's only.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think Paps. I think he's the greatest of all time in the West. Even Faker says that Bjerg's one of the top players in his eyes, right? I think I'm gonna miss him the most. Like, I'm actually really excited though about him retiring, because this just means there's going to be an open mid, and hopefully TSM doesn't go for a like import, and instead, although there are rumors that they might go get Rookie into Shy, but that's for another time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just rumors though. But yeah, like there's a bunch of things. Like, I'm hoping that they go for like in-game talent. Like, one of my favorite things is like eventually all these players who play here right now, right, in NA, all these pro players, especially those who have been on the league since the very beginning of LCS, right? Once they retire, all this new wave of new players are going to come up. And it's going to be so good for North America, and will better perform internationally once that happens. I think Bjergsen stepping down as the face of LCS is a good thing. I think Doublelift should retire as well. Yeah. As for coaching, I don't know if it's a good idea or not, because it's like it's kind of like, the way I see it's like, bro, Bjerg, you decided to pick Zillion against a set, and then you got shit on the lane at Worlds, and then you went 0-6. Like, you not playing is gonna be the same as you coaching. That's just the way I see it. Like, if that's what you were thinking, like, because I know damn well Parth isn't a head coach at all,
Yeah.
and he's definitely not gonna be the one to tell you that Zillion was a good pick there. So to me, it's like, the players probably had, like, to me, TSM had probably had like one of those Peyton Manning kind of thing where Bjergsen takes control of everything, right? But if he doesn't know what he's doing, it's gonna end up being a bad thing, you
Yeah.
know. Although, I don't know for sure. I could eat my words in like 10 months when LCS starts again, and we see TSM being undefeated and then winning MSI. Who knows, right? But until then, I don't think Bjergsen was a good idea to become a coach.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think for my part, because I've had a little bit of time to think about this too, and the way I kind of feel about Bjergsen retiring is a little similar to the way I felt about Uzi retiring when I found out that he was in fact going to be leaving. And when you look at the careers that those two guys had comparatively, not to compare apples to oranges, and this is Bjergsen we're talking about. I think one of the things that a lot of people talked about Uzi was that he's one of the greatest to ever live and one of the greatest to ever do it. And I think on the flip side of that, I think Bjergsen is one of the greatest to never do it. He's one of the greatest players to never win Worlds. He's one of the greatest players to never win MSI. Mostly, I think, through no fault of his own. I think that through the history of what he displayed with TSM, and the LCS, and then the LEC, when it was the NALCS, and then when it transitions to LC just being the LCS itself, I think regardless of which kind of era you look at, I think it doesn't really matter in terms of that. I think that looking at him as a player, I think you always got a certain degree of excellence and a certain degree of just oomph, and it's really hard to kind of quantify what Bjergsen brought to the table other than strategically and mechanically. But he had this sort of flair and this spice that you don't get with a lot of players, and this ability to demand more of the people that were playing around him. Something that Doublelift, I think, said quite a bit was that when he was first starting out, he didn't really appreciate just how hard in the paint that Bjergsen went. And then as he kind of got a little bit older and more experienced, he kind of understood and appreciated more of what Bjergsen meant by going as hard as he did and by demanding the same from other players while also kind of not being on the toxic side of things. And I think that that's kind of summarizes Bjergsen's career. It's just almost complete and utter dominance and excellence from top to bottom. There was a brief stint, not a brief stint, but there was a fair stint where TSM was not really performing to what people thought they could, and that was kind of at the moment when Doublelift left TSM, and they weren't winning finals kind of the way they were, and they weren't making Worlds the way they had done previously, which I think kind of maybe tainted his legacy a little bit. But I think on the whole, I think TSM coming back the way they did this last split and winning the finals, going out at least on a good note on that front, kind of helped just re-cement people that when he had players to work with, he absolutely was a force to be reckoned with. And there were plenty of games and plenty of times throughout the years where people were saying that Bjergsen really was carrying TSM, and there's plenty of evidence to that. And I think that, and I agree with that the sentiment. I think that there were plenty of times where TSM persisted because of Bjergsen. I think that his loss in TSM is going to be kind of this unfillable void. I really do. I feel like whatever mid laner has to come after him, quite frankly, is doomed. Unfortunately, I feel like nothing short of having a damn near perfect season and winning back-to-back splits and going to Worlds and making some serious headway there is going to cement any of the mid laner for TSM. I think trying to step into the shoes that Bjergsen left is damn near an impossible task, and I don't envy any mid laner that's going to have to do that, regardless of who it is. And part of me does wish that he was sticking around. Part of me does wish that he was deciding to kind of continue on it and see, what else he could accomplish and stick it out, one more year maybe. But I definitely understand why he decided to retire. Especially with the way that, maybe the league is down and with not having the kind of performances that he would maybe want. I can definitely see why he decided to retire. And then kind of the opposite of what you were saying. I think one of the things that's going to happen is that Bjergsen leaving is going to make the league weaker as a whole because you're losing a juggernaut player, at least for a while. I think that there's going to be Because when Bjergsen goes to enter any event, regardless of whether or not he's playing in an LCS finals or whether or not he's playing at Worlds, he commands a certain amount of respect. Like there's certain things that you're not going to be able to pull when Bjergsen's in the mid lane. Like you don't get an easy matchup. Like and any player that beats him genuinely has beat that player. It's not a free win. It's not a free matchup. If you beat Bjergsen, it's because you deserved it. It's because you outplayed him. And I definitely think that one less of those players in the league is going to make the league weaker as a whole for a while. I don't know if there are really any other mid laners that will ever actually reach that caliber. I think that that's something that remains to be seen. Obviously, a lot of people felt like that for the LEC before Caps came in, and then Caps came in and it was like the second coming of Jesus Christ, and people were like, oh my God, he's so good. I definitely agree with your sentiment. I think that when you think Western players, I think that there are other newer names that kind of have their own tug and pull, but I think that if you're thinking about one of the greatest of all times in terms of Western players, I think Bjergsen's name kind of takes the cake on that one. I just don't imagine that there's another player that could ever top that legacy. I think, though he didn't win Worlds, even though he didn't win MSI, Bjergsen has just displayed excellence at every level. How do you
I think the only other person is Doublelift in my eyes.
And I think the only argument on that one is that statistically he was the better player than Doublelift, because he does technically have one more win. He has technically more finals wins. Does technically have more Worlds appearances. So yeah. I think that's kind of the only argument statistically. I think that there is definitely some banter to be had there about which player actually was the best. And I think that is not really a conversation that needs to be had until Doublelift decides to retire, which I hope is soon. I hope it's immediately soon. I hope it's next week.
Because it's like
he needs to retire, but
because like it's like Doublelift and Bjergsen are like the two people that you think about when you think about NALCS. I think the third person that you think about is probably like Alphamir or something. But if Doublelift once Doublelift retires, it's like, well, there goes all of NALCS.
Yeah, it's a huge power vacuum that's gone.
Like Sneaky, I know Sneaky's plans to return. That is what he said a while back, right? But I don't know if anybody's gonna pick him up. It's just kind of one of those things where like you can't.
Well, it's strange. It's strange for TSM too, because if you're Doublelift, you're used to playing to a caliber player like Bjergsen, and then now you don't really have Bjergsen anymore. So and he's seeing a lot of the people that he's played with in the league start to kind of disappear. And now on the team that you wanted to join because you wanted to play with Bjergsen, now he's gone. Why does he stay? You're not going to get the same performance out of another mid laner, regardless of whether or not it's a veteran that's being transferred or whether or not it's a rookie. I expect that Bjergsen will do his utmost to thoroughly coach a replacement. Whoever comes in and tries to fill in his shoes, I think he'll be a decent coach for TSM. Obviously, I think that Bjergsen actually transferring as a coach is huge, because you have a lot of coaches in NA that don't really have the kind of credentials and don't really know what they're doing. I know that's been a criticism of LS for a long time. It's like, it seems like anybody can become a coach in these leagues, or just across the world in general. And like people who
they're not doing background checks. They're not doing this or that. Like, hey, I could go to 100 Thieves right now and tell them I'm a better coach than whoever decided to put.
And at least someone on Reddit would probably back you, like, oh yeah, that guy's a better coach.
And especially with my experience, have you seen my esports resume? Holy moly! But I think in general, it's just gonna be it's gonna be an interesting off season. I can't wait for a lot of it to happen. I'm gonna be talking about it a lot. Free agency is going to be key, especially like I'm going to be keeping a close eye on NA to see what they do, but I'm mostly obviously going to be looking at Korea. Like that's the biggest thing. Also, on the note of like free agency, right? It's not free agency, but like trades, right? There is a huge rumor about a trade being put out for TSM from Invictus Gaming to get Rookie and Tashai. This was a couple days ago. It was just a rumor.
Listen to me. I'm telling you right now, if they get both of those players, some back alley deal will happen to get both those players. Now, if TSM were to get both those players, do you know how quickly the power stance from North America as a region would switch just by those two players coming to North America? Oh my God. And Impact is now no longer takes up an import slot, and he is a free agent. Oh my God. Could you imagine that some team snatches up all three of those guys, like with Broken Blade being gone? Oh, we'll take Impact. Oh, look, Rookie and the Shy. Why don't you come on over here? Like, could you imagine a roster like that?
Yeah, like Double If, Rookie. I feel like Speak is actually really good. I think they would have. Honestly, what I want to see is Afromu to come back, rush hour.
I do not want to see Afromu again. He is not a good player. I'm sorry. He's not. He is not a good player. He's not.
I think he has been on the decline 100%, but I think he's still a really good in-game leader.
I think whatever money you would spend on him as an in-game leader, you just spend on a rookie.
You think so?
I think so. I think you just leave it alone. I am of the same mind with him as I am with the whole Dardoch thing. Just leave it alone. I've shared this story many times, and this is not a particularly new story. This is something that goes back to when TL was playing 100 Thieves in the finals. But I've told this story many times, and this is one of my favorite stories. But there was a moment where the TL coach, I can't remember his name, got in the elevator with basically the entire 100 Thieves squad. They were, and the 100 Thieves squad had been fucking off doing whatever it is they were doing that night, buying shoes, coking and joking, just having a good time in the town, which is their right. That's fair. But I remember that the TL coach, he was talking to me. He said, I looked over those guys and asked them, like, hey, you know, we have finals tomorrow, right? And he said, after me, looked over me and said, yeah, we know. And they're like, are you ready? You guys don't look like you're ready. And everyone was like, yeah, we got it. And they got smashed. They got smashed 3-0. It's like Afromu was responsible for that. He was the voice of leadership in that team, and they just did nothing, and they got smashed by TL. So
yeah, no, I can see that. To me, like I'm very much a mellow. Like I can understand, like in a mellow way. Like if I was like Afro, I would try to make sure, like, because to Afro, it was like, oh, it's his second or third final. He's not worried about it, right? As for the rest of the team, maybe they were a little bit worried about it, but for him, he was confident. That's the way I see it, at least. But
I think part of the problem is kind of the stigma behind him as a player, which is that second fiddle to double lift. It's like you'll never be double lift. You'll never be that caliber player. I think that's a huge kind of just whacking shtick that's always used against him. And it's for better or for worse, whether it's his fault or not. I think that's just a huge problem, and I think that affects the way teams and the players look at him. It's like, you don't really have any accomplishments to your name, so. Especially when you look at a lot of the other talent in the league. My personal opinion, I don't think teams go with him. I think they kind of avoid him like Dardoch. I think they just go with a much more fresh player, someone that they can mold. I think you put some veteran leadership behind that, and I think you just thank Afromu for his time and send him on his way. My own personal opinion.
Yeah.
Well, folks, it's a little more than an hour. Obviously, some other stuff that we could talk about, but we're trying to keep these more digestible, keep these things a little bit more listenable too, so that way people don't have to spend 5.5 hours listening to a podcast. But if you're listening right now, thank you so much for listening. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Leave your comments below. Anything that you think we missed. We're going to try and do more of these more often. We'll have a lot to talk about after finals concludes, and then especially going into off season. But for those of you who are watching this, thank you so much, and we'll see you around. Bye-bye.